Are you bored of hitting creeps as a safe laner? Actually, you're probably not. You're a safe lane player. That's actually probably all you like doing. But either way, we're going to be looking at Ame, one of the best carry players in the world. This is actually his Smurf account, and yet it's ranked 55. We're going to be looking at one of the best carry players in the world who recently just won a major and how he plays Faceless Void. This is a very active carry, and I want to show you that that's the case. We're going to skip ahead here to the 15-minute mark, and you're going to notice he has only 112 CS, which is still actually relatively high, but it's no flash farming hero. And as the game actually continues to progress on, at 22 minutes, he only has 148. Now, this is actually a game where his team wasn't owning, which is great as well. We're going to see how he manages to actually help his team recover back into this game after his Lina got crushed mid by Nothing to Say, and just kind of snowball his team to victory, because even then, through the next 5 minutes of the game, he only packs on another 40 last hits. So clearly not putting too much of an emphasis on CS, while he still keeps it very high compared to your average player. This is not a carry hero that's going to own on the CS department, but completely destroys team fights, and we're going to see how exactly he does that this game on Faceless Void. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like, literally, with the gameleap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the gameleap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below. I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. Alright, so let's get into the laning stage and start off by talking about the first 10 minutes of the game and the general concepts you should be following on Void. So Faceless Void as a hero is a pretty strong laner with 61 base damage, 4 armor, and being a pretty fast melee hero with the ability to, take back damage or heal yourself with your Q. Your hero is a good laner. It's considered to be a solid laner. It's not a high pressure laner until the later levels. Primarily level 3 is your main spike when it comes to aggression if the enemy makes a mistake, and we'll get into that. But basically, let's start with the early waves. So early on, you're not really going to do anything. Ame is going to play pretty passive, just looking to play the early waves, primarily for CS, and that's about it. Now, we're going to see a bit of a switch up from what people usually do on Faceless Void. The most common build is actually Bash, but pros have really started to shift towards time dilation. If you don't know what this ability does, basically it puts the opponent's abilities on a delayed timer. So you'll see when Tusk gets time dilated from his perspective, the snowball cooldown will stop ticking very quickly, right? He's going to get time dilated, and it's going to get stuck on 16, slowly progress to 15, and eventually to 14, but very slowly. So this ability is honestly Void's second ultimate. You really should look at it like that. It's one of the best abilities in Dota 2, if not dispelled. That's the only downside. It's dispellable, but in the lane, that's practically never the case. And so you want to use it a lot, because not only does it slow movement speed, it also slows attack speed, which basically makes it a really OP trading ability, especially against heroes like Weaver, who really rely on their spells to trade. And we're going to see our first kill in the lane based off exactly this. He's playing pretty passive, CS going in his favor, because after all, he's a melee hero with pretty good damage, but he can time-lapse the Sakuchi damage and notices his support getting gone on. And anytime your support gets gone on, that's often kind of your best case scenario to jump in and get your damage going. And we'll see the Weaver's going to commit pretty hard here, but this is why Void is actually such a hard counter to Weaver at basically every stage of the game where Weaver can't get rid of time dilation. Weaver is already a slow hero with a time dilation stack on Sakuchi. He can't Sakuchi again, and that's what Weaver relies on to actually do anything. From there, his movement speed gets dropped to 247. Tusk also is going to get his attack speed dropped as well, and they can't afford to trade. The Weaver's going to get enchanted, the snowball is to no avail, as time dilation lasts for a really long time, and it stalls the duration of Sakuchi. So, I guess, oh yeah, they actually don't end up killing him here, but they drop him to 20 HP, force a salve, and it's an unbelievably favorable trade for the Faceless Void. From there, Ame's skill build is my personal favorite. I absolutely hate the max bash build, and the reason why is I honestly think maxing time walk as soon as possible is your best bet. Especially against a hero like Weaver that is pretty consistent harass. It's very difficult to lane in the later stages of the lane if you don't pick up, the maxed out time walk. Honestly, bash also doesn't scale incredibly well. The chance goes up, but not by a lot, and the damage doesn't scale really well at all. And so I really prefer this skill build from Ame. On top of that, he had a pretty free lane, and so he's actually going to go for an early treads. And this is kind of the main kill build. And you might be thinking, oh, I could rush Mask of Madness to get more kills. But the thing is, if you don't go treads, you're not going to be able to pressure the early waves. You're going to see here he has 41 last hits, 15 denies, and is dumpstering the Weaver nearly 900 gold up at this point in the lane. And that's because he's able to pressure so hard. On top of that, look at this beautiful play from Ame here. What a sick bait this is. Just so much discipline, not panicking whatsoever. So he casts his Time Walk here, and this opens up a gap for the Tusk to actually snowball in. But he doesn't panic. He goes for the time dilation, slowing the attack speed of the two opponents. Then, only when Tusk is actually in range of the tower does he turn. And that actually allows him to kill the Tusk, which was pretty crazy. At first I thought there was no chance, but the tower finishes him off, and he actually gets a kill out of him getting ganked, which is huge. From there, we're going to see him rush Mask of Madness, and this is the main item build on Void. I honestly don't like any of the other builds. For instance, there's like a Maelstrom build. I'm personally not a fan of it because if you try to jungle with Maelstrom on Void, you have to pray you get a chipped vest or a possessed mask. If you don't get one of these items, you're gonna kind of lack sustain. You're gonna get chipped down by these camps. But with the Morbid Mask, you can dead lane really well or stay in your lane. And I think as Void as a carry, your hero, what it often should look to do and almost always look to do, is stay in lane and play for lane creeps. Void is simply not a hero that jungles very effectively. It's not a Naga, it's not a Terrorblade, it's not these types of heroes. It wants to shove the lane and then only really jungle the nearby camps until Mask of Madness. We'll even see him go on the Weaver here and kind of pressure him out. Even ends up getting ganked by the Puck, but because he has a stick in the maxed out Time Walk, he's able to play this fight expertly. He gets gone on, baits the rotation, and is able to hit a beautiful chrono onto 3. From there, he's going to kill off the Weaver. Incredible discipline not to click the Mask of Madness there. That's some pro level stuff. Doesn't click the Mask of Madness because he knows he's going to need the Time Walk to actually get out after the chrono. That kills off the Weaver. From there, he heals off the creep wave with lifesteal. Mid-team fight, he has the awareness to do that. That allows him to live the nukes from Puck, and that actually kills off the Puck, funny enough, gets off the Time Walk into the tree line, which prevents Tusk from getting off his right clicks here, and he lives again. So yeah, just a beautiful team fight, and if you play Void to the limits, just like Ame does, you can actually get off a chrono, get off a time dilation, your team can TP in, and you can kind of just set up for a counter initiation that's going to kill off multiple heroes like we saw there. And from there, you're going to go back to your lane. Now you might be thinking, oh Speed, what if my lane goes really poorly? Well, honestly, you should try to look to pull. I really wouldn't recommend just going into the jungle and hitting jungle creeps. Even here, we're going to see him get ganked by a really coordinated gank from the Puck. Right, that's nothing to say, literally another major winner ganking him out, his teammate actually. But you really do want to stay in your lane, and honestly, because often when you do get ganked, you'll be able to live. Now finally at minute 11 here, we're going to see his first rotation out of the lane into the ancient camp, and this is basically based off the Mask of Madness timing, but he's specifically, because this camp is stacked, specifically going to have to drag the camp out, funny enough, and use the Mask of Madness only when the camp is about at its peak for how far it's going to chase, because otherwise, by decreasing your armor with Mask of Madness, you're going to get shredded by the camp. Even if you didn't decrease your armor, you still would get shredded by the camp, so he does a good job generally kiting out, even using the Time Walk to get a little bit of the HP back that he takes from his camps, and eventually kills it off. It takes him a while, but he's able to heal off the remainder of the last creep, and this large camp, which he'll fully heal off of, and he's off to the races. From there, you want to be watching the minimap as much as humanly possible if you do head into the jungle with your Mask of Madness. When Chrono is up, you should be hitting camps with Mask, but paying attention to your surroundings. For instance, here he's going to look mid, and it's all about getting these quick kills in and out, and then going back to farming with your general Mask of Madness. A beautiful grave from the Dazzle keeps the TA alive here, but it doesn't matter, because Time Dilation is a stupid ability. For every ability that is on cooldown, Void is going to slow you by 10%. That's a 30% movement speed slow onto the Dazzle, and he's going to get bashed at some point as well. As a result, the Dazzle's going to get chased down, he gets a lucky 2 bashes in a row, and he's able to finish off the kill onto the Dazzle. And this is what Void is so dang good at in the early game. His impact in early game fights with Mask of Madness is frankly insane. You don't even need follow-up damage, which is why teams will pick Void without follow-up damage. This game he has plenty, he's got an Enchelina and Coddle, but you really don't need it, because even though his Chrono kind of wasn't great here, it sort of zones out the backline, and this time dilation onto the Weaver just takes him out of the fight. If he casts Tsukuchi, it's going to go on cooldown indefinitely. Even his Geminite attack got put on cooldown, and so funny enough, you just zone out everyone. I really can't stress this enough. Time dilation is a broken ability inherent. Like, what it does is just an insane concept if it cannot be dispelled. And kind of from there, it's pretty simple. He actually basically does nothing when the chrono is down. You can respond to tower dives just with time dilation, even with no chrono. Unfortunately, he's going to get ganked here, but you can respond to tower dives. That would be about all I would respond to, though. From there, it's kind of just about reading the enemy movements and, dodging ganks. The basics, right? Just avoid the ganks when chrono's down, farm up what you can, play your side of the map. You can actually play very aggressive portions of the map if the enemy team has no stuns. Now, this game, they have Puck, which basically means he can die, right? If they have heroes like Puck or an Orchid hero, like an Orchid Storm or something of the sort, you have to play pretty defensive on the map, and that's why he's jungling very defensively this game, right? He has a very clear counter. However, some games you're not going to have that, and so instead of playing like this, right? I'm going to draw a line here. So instead of playing like this, you would play more like this or like this, right? Because you could be a bit more efficient in these areas. But you can still be efficient here. It's just kind of a bit less farm because you're generally not going to get lane creeps, but you got to get what you can get when you're countered. And from there, we actually see him pick up his shard and use a pupil's gift as his neutral item, which I freaking love because what this build actually plays around is less about the chrono and more about your ability to kite in and out. Of course, the chrono still matters, but if you don't know what his shard does, it does two things. It increases your time walk cast range significantly. I think it's almost double what it usually is. And from there, it also gives you the ability to time walk backwards for 1.5 seconds. If you want to, you can time walk back to your original spot. We'll see that in this fight here, but he can go in from really far, hit a really nice time dilation onto the Puck, and if he thinks the fight is bad, he can go back. Honestly, I don't really know why he went back there. I feel like he could have kept going, so maybe a bit of a mistake. But either way, he can jump really far, and you can kind of go on whatever target you want. In the early game, you generally don't want to go on the first guy you see because you're going to get jumped with no BKB. Obviously, in this fight, there's no one to back up this Puck, so it was a good jump. Unfortunately, Puck has a Yule's and a Haste Rune, so ends up being a pretty suboptimal jump. Even though usually time dilating a Puck is extremely good, it ends up not being too great there. But because of the shard, he's able to get onto the backline and finish off the TA. From there, he's able to kite out again and then go back onto the Dazzle. Unfortunately, he gets silenced here, but he probably didn't even need to go back anyway. And eventually, he's going to look for the time dilation onto the Puck. It does connect, and I actually felt like maybe he could have chased Puck here. Unfortunately, Puck does have the Yules coming back up again, and I think he knew that, so he decides not to chase. But you can see how good this hero actually is in these early game fights. You should prioritize these tank neutral items if possible. Vambrace on strength is honestly really good too, but People's Gift is really, really fantastic. And you can kind of play like a psycho, especially when you know that the enemy team's major counter spells are down, and that's up to you to track. You gotta know when the coil is down in a game like this, right? That's his major concern. Tusk is annoying, but it's not that long of disable. It's also harder to synergize on Tusk spells than it is to Coil, right? Anyone can follow Coil, it's very obvious. Tusk Snowball Blink Punch is like much less obvious, but he's able to jump the Dazzle here, look for the finish. Doesn't get it, actually gets snowballed on, but especially when you hit level 15, this hero becomes pretty broken in terms of mid-game fighting potential because he gets Time Walk cooldown. At level 15, he has 1.5 second Time Walk cooldown. Always take this talent. And at level 10, he takes the Time Walk backtrack duration. Generally, you only scale this at level 16 though, so don't take your level 10 talent until level 16. You should instead focus on maxing out your time dilation to get it as low of a cooldown as possible and as long as a duration as possible, as soon as possible. But yeah, you're able to just do so much in the early game with this time walk cooldown, just bouncing in and out, going everywhere you want. And the beauty of the shard as well is it allows you to kind of be more of like an anti-mage, right? You can get the cams very, very quickly due to the length of the jump, and you farm very quickly with this Mask Maelstrom as well. So honestly, I think Void, if he can get out of the laning stage scot-free, and keep in mind, he does have some pretty hard counters like Viper, and Death Prophet can be a bit annoying for him, but honestly, Viper's probably the main one. Honestly, even Weaver can be annoying, but he has an Enchantress in his lane, so he did have a lane Dominator to help him out. But yeah, at this point in the game, you can be pretty devastating on Void, and let's see how he plays this fight. So a really nice initiation from his Sand King actually sets up here. He's going to go for the Chrono, understanding that Puck is his main counter, even hits the Tusk on the back end. A little bit lucky, but goes for the time dilation. you always want to time dilate before going for the Mask of Madness, because then when the Mask of Madness ends, you want to make sure that they don't have as many spells to try to kill you when the Mask of Madness is active, if that makes sense. But he goes on the TA here. By the way, time dilation does some damage. Goes on the TA. TA gets Graved and BKB'd, so he's got to chill a little bit. Wants to look for the Tusk, honestly taking a bit of risk time walking that far, but does get Coddle Refresh, which is kind of a cool combo. And now he's going to look for another time dilation. And this is the thing about this spell, it's such a low cooldown for what it does. Once again, this Dazzle is just ravaged by this time dilation. 3 spells on cooldown means that he loses 40% of his movement speed, and none of his spells come up, and that's his way of defending himself, obviously, right? That's what he has to do. Even something like Templar Assassin, no refraction is a clear problem, and she just isn't going to have refraction for like 9 bonus seconds as a result of the time dilation. Another time dilation comes out. And you can see the point of Void and why you would use Pupil's Gift over a damage item. If you can stay alive and get off these time dilations, you're going to win the fight. The early Chrono only needs to really kill one hero for Void to generally win the fight for his team, as he gets another kill onto the Weaver due to the time dilation. And once again, he's going to play pretty defensive on the Chrono cooldown. Try not to force things. A lot of people will get like kind of overhyped when they win a fight with Chrono. Then they're going to get too aggressive when the Chrono is down and they're going to throw their game. Even though this is a really basic concept and I think a lot of you guys know it at this point, I just feel like it's important to remind you, only because I even have to remind myself when I'm playing heroes that are, very cooldown reliant, that you got to be passive. You got to wait your timings. Not always. Once again, you can even fight without Chrono due to how good time dilation is. But in those situations, you've got to really make sure it's an advantageous fight. A numbers advantage, a vision advantage, something of the sort, an item advantage, whatever it is. In terms of items this game, he goes for a beautiful BKB into Scotty. The Scotty is just so good this game, and the reason why is the enemy team has 3 ranged cores, which makes the Scotty incredibly powerful. Honestly, even if they don't have ranged cores, the Scotty is still kind of a good item. Once again, the name of the game on Void is staying alive. People don't get this because they think, oh, I gotta solo kill everyone in Chrono. I gotta hit a 5-man Chrono and then insta-wipe their whole team and get a rampage. It's like, you really do not need to play Void like that. In fact, I think it's straight up wrong in the majority of games. Yeah, are there games where getting an early Mjolnir after the BKB is good to guarantee that you can kill, certain squishy heroes like Slark that have, an ulti that would save them after the Chrono if they get it off? Sure, right? But often Mask of Madness Maelstrom is good enough with a little bit of follow-up. Once again, sometimes it's not, and picking up a Mjolnir instead of Scotty is good for a bit more DPS. I also do like the active shield on the Void. But once again, in a game like this, where the enemy team is pretty low on lockdown, and it's an extremely good time dilation game against Puck, against Weaver, it's always a good time dilation game. Every hero needs their abilities, but especially against heroes like, the Puck and the Weaver, it just absolutely destroys them. And so if you can get to this point where you can afford to hop on a TA because you have such high armor, and a Scotty to slower attack speed, you're just going to annihilate. At this point in the game, he's level 25. In terms of his talents, he's got the attack speed during Chrono talent and the 20% backtrack. And the attack speed during Chrono is honestly, it makes up for the Mjolnir. If you don't go the Mjolnir, but you're snowballing hard enough, your Chrono just gives you 120 attack speed. That's an insane amount of attack speed. That's more attack speed than Mask of Madness. During the Mask of Madness, he's like Wind Ranger focus fired on the Templar Assassin and straight up kills her from full HP. Then yeah, Void in the mid to late game, if he gets off to a good start, because this hero is not a flash farmer, and I wouldn't call it like some crazy lane dominator, but if you can get away with a good laning stage, and then get to this point in the game, your hero is frankly like insane. It's just straight up insane. It's brutal for any hero to play into Void mid to late game. If you don't die in the Chrono, you're still not going to be able to cast your abilities, you probably can't burst them, and the game gets really hard from there. But nonetheless, you'll see him even force out an early Yules from the Puck there. But you can just kite in and out so effectively. And oh my, I'm going to play that back quickly. It's so hard for these supports to play as well. Here like Dazzle also gets annihilated by the Scotty. So much movement speed slow. Takes him down. Instantly dead. Can force the Puck to blink out here. Time dilation onto the Puck. Knowing that the Yules is on cooldown. Is the Puck dead? He might... Oh no, okay. The Yules is a pretty short cooldown, so he'll have it back up. And he'll be able to save himself. So Yules a pretty clear answer to the Void, right? Even Puck bought it. I think Puck bought it before Blink Dagger. You might be like, why would he buy this game? They don't have any Orchids. Time dilation. Literally, Puck bought Yules just for time dilation. If you think I'm kidding, I'm not. There's no other reason you would buy Yules this game. You might like, oh, did Kato go Orchid? Okay, fine. I guess Kato bought Orchid. All right, fine. All right, he bought he bought Orchid. You know, I'll give you that. But I will tell you, Pucks will buy Yules just for time dilation because it makes this hero that unplayable. And it also cancels blinks. Alright, nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, come on, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace!